thought you wanted to watch it now.
No, I'm just saying. It's been days.
We should actually. We can put the projector up maybe this week. And watch
Maybe
it.
sometime.
I don't know. We have to get a new projector actually.
Just not a new projector, just a stand.
Yeah, we have to get a new stand.
Do you know of any projectors?
So, but anyway, this is very good. A new Srila Prabhupada movie has come out just today.
Yeah, they released it today.
That's good. And what is it streaming on?
YouTube.
Oh, really? Okay, we all have something to do when we go to bed later tonight. We can,
We can have a watch party.
yeah, we should have a watch party.
And the Empowered Acharya rises.
We also saw that on the YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We also saw a
Nice.
movie. Hare Krishna. That was also very
The
good.
Empowered Acharya rises.
Yes. So there's already a nice movie about Srila Prabhupada. There's a lot of nice books about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, condensed version, Srila Prabhupada Your Ever Well Wisher, an even more condensed book just called Prabhupada. There's, the Hare Krishna movie, which we watched here for the Thanksgiving retreat. Now on another retreat, now we have another arsenal, a new acharya. I think there's another,
There's Following Srila Prabhupada.
there's Following Srila Prabhupada. It's a YouTube series where it has all of his disciples,
Videos.
different experiences with Srila Prabhupada. Might not be as exciting as a movie. You get some amazing Following Srila Prabhupada stories, and then like sometimes you get a disciple, like one time I saw Srila Prabhupada eat an apple. And you're just like, okay, cool. Like that's nice. To them it was super transcendental, but for us, like, we're like, okay, that's cool. That's,
It must be their kind of thing.
yeah. Some you get a couple you had to be there moments,
It's
but
like some scientist seeing it in see fallen apple.
what did you say?
There are a lot of videos on YouTube where he's doing normal things, but when you watch them, you're like, oh, he's just eating his prasadam, but in his field, just watching
He-
those things.
He's so transcendental.
He's
that-
just applying his tilak and
He's
then-
just living his life, and then we're all just like, wow.
And he's not even amazed by like people, photographing him or videoing him. He's just doing his stuff.
Mm.
Disciples are just recording everything.
Yes, so this Srila Prabhupada lived. Actually, that's one of the most amazing things that any acharya has ever done. He's it depends, maybe someone is considered today an acharya, but he is the only well accepted acharya that is so well videoed. You can look up hundreds upon hundreds of hours of video and lecture of Srila Prabhupada, so well recorded. And it's amazing, someone who is, like if someone had me on video for like my whole life, I would do so many embarrassing and I would ruin my reputation very quickly if you caught every moment of me on video. But Srila Prabhupada, he was on video for years at a time, and he just every second you saw, he's just transcendental at every step of the way. And so that's an amazing feat, actually, to be, a celebrity. If they just do one embarrassing thing, the paparazzi's got them, and they look at what they did, But like Srila Prabhupada was on constant video, but he was unfazed, and he was just completely transcendental. So that's the amazing thing about Srila Prabhupada. Anyone could go listen to his lectures. There's literally thousands of hours about Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, it's just, this is a very, 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 very glorious day, and this is a very glorious movement, and there is no Hare Krishna movement in the Western world without Srila Prabhupada. Just trying to think some really key achievements and accomplishments. My wife talked about the astrology. At birth, his astrology reading said that he would become a sannyasi and open up 108 temples. Rishi, you got one?
Talking about astrology, actually, I read this in one of the articles.
Speak loudly.
I've read this in one of the discussions, room conversations. In Prabhupada, it's recorded, proper recorded in room conversation. So there was one astrologer who came. It's during his final days. So one of the astrologers, he came and he was predicting what would happen, and it's I guess at the time 1976 or 1977 when he was very ill, and there was one astrologer who wanted to serve Srila Prabhupada by seeing his astrological charts. So he was telling to Tamal Krishna Maharaj and everyone who were around that this. I mean, he was giving very detailed descriptions, and then at the end, I mean, it was understood by them that he is going to leave this planet very soon. But then he said one very interesting thing. He said that actually, according to your astrological chart, your life was just 75 years, and these 6 extra years are gifted by Krishna. I mean, they are not in the line. He said he did very detailed way. He also has told everything, what planet is doing, what kind of planet is in which situations, and he said that actually you were supposed to live only till 75 years of age, but you surpassed that. So that is something that happens with only because of the mercy of the Lord.
Yes, that's a very. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I can show you that. I actually
Thank you for sharing that.
That's what they want research.
Yes. So, I was in his forecast to leave earlier, and actually he almost did leave earlier multiple times. I think he had health struggles probably around that time.
almost, yeah.
And but just by the prayers of his disciples, and I also think by the will of Srila Prabhupada and the mercy of Krishna, he continued on and he continued spreading this Krishna consciousness movement worldwide. One of the glories I was talking about yesterday, later in the evening, is that in Russia, they just had a Ratha Yatra of 500,000 devotees. In New York, 500,000 people in celebrating. In New York, we were pumped up about 20,000, which was, and if you were there, it was like, oh my God, there were so many people. I can't imagine times 25 what that would look like. But Srila Prabhupada went to Russia for 3 days. He went to Russia for 3 days, and in 3 days he taught one boy, but he taught him so well that he spread it all across Russia. And they got tortured in Russia, in communist Russia, when they were spreading it. They got literally tortured. I heard one story. They were even like hiring the CIA and the KGB. I don't know. I hope I'm not gonna get in trouble for saying stuff like. They do like all kinds of messed up stuff, And one of the things the KGB actually did to one of the devotees, they actually like hired like a witch to like. To actually like put like a curse, like an actual bona fide witch who can who can actually like spread curses to people. So yeah, I mean the government, they got access to these people, If there's witches out there, the government's going to be the first one to have access to them. So anyway, the KGB, they hired a witch, and this is like a real devotee story. They tell this story, and like a bona fide witch to curse them and to stop this spreading of Krishna, stop being a devotee, So this witch is actually, she's practicing spells, and she's creating this whole smoke screen, and it's crazy. And then all of a sudden, the witch she stops what she's doing, and she's packing up, and she says, I have to leave. And the officials, the government officials are saying, where are you going? What are you doing? She says, it's impossible, I cannot do it. And they're like, what? Why? She's like, when I go in to try and remove this from him and impose what I want, there's an old man sitting there and he's chastising me. Who is the old man? It's Srila Prabhupada. He won't let me. He won't let me go. So this is a real life devotee story of it there, because they used to torture the devotees in Russia got tortured, because they were atheistic. They were communist atheists. So they were like, there was no spreading of religion. They used to guard the churches, and so the spreading of a new religion, Krishna consciousness. But the people of Russia, due to being pretty oppressed, especially religiously, they were probably the hungriest of all. And like I said, now, we just celebrated 20,000, and in Russia, 500,000 for the Ratha Yatra. It's amazing. And you go to Vrindavan, I'll run into maybe 3 or 4 other Americans there. They're there. But, you see tons of Russians there. They really take to Krishna consciousness. So yeah, and Prabhupada was there for 3 days. 3 days, just 3 days of the pure devotee giving his time there, and this is the result.
And the torturing wasn't like teasing, it was like waterboarding.
Oh, yeah.
And like shoving like meat down their throats.
Yeah.
And it was like
Hiring witches,
underground,
you know,
like,
that kind of crazy
almost
stuff.
killing them, but still like kept pushing on despite that.
So yeah, all glories to the Russian devotees doing that thing. That's pretty cool. But anyway, there's so many incredible pastimes. You know, I was just making fun of the following Srila Prabhupada videos where sometimes like someone says, you know, I saw Srila Prabhupada eating an apple and it's amazing. But actually, I had a friend of mine. We stayed on his farm, but he actually had a story like this. But he was saying that he was watching Srila Prabhupada eat chickpeas. But Srila Prabhupada was just so nonchalant, just like throwing the from like down here, throwing the chickpeas up in his mouth and eating them so like skillfully that he was just so like amazed by just like watching him eat chickpeas. So that's very funny. But there's so many you know, thousands, hundreds of stories. I don't want to actually bash Following Srila Prabhupada. It's really good if you do watch it. There's so many. If you watch it while Following Srila Prabhupada, it's all the different devotees' stories on YouTube, and it's quite wonderful to hear many of the devotees' experiences with Srila Prabhupada, and you can hear it. You know, he was absolutely a devotee on the platform of prem. Prem is pure love of God. And there's symptoms that are exhibited, you know, it's not just like a theoretical thing, like, oh, we're all going to get praying, but there's no way to measure like where we are and what our advancement looks like. There's actually a guideline to how to do that. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he writes something called the Madhurya Kadambini, which actually gives you a guidepost to let you know your own advancement in bhakti, and you'll be able to measure the advancement of others in bhakti. And it's very helpful because you're not going to get cheated by others and you're not going to cheat yourself. But anyway, if you follow the guideline that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives, Srila Prabhupada, he meets definitely all the qualities of prem bhakti. And there's some most of these advanced bhaktas, you know, exhibiting pure love of God, you know, at the highest level, emotionally and everything. They don't like make a public display of their advancement and their feeling. But there were times where, you know, Srila Prabhupada had said many things that just like really tripped out a lot of the devotees around him. He said multiple times that he had seen Narada Muni joining the Katha here today and things like that. There were times, one time in specific, there's a really nice, it's only like 30 seconds long. He was invited to the Atlanta temple, ISKCON Atlanta. If you ever visit, it's very nice. But he was invited to the Atlanta temple, and he was supposed to give like a half an hour class, but he ended up giving like a 2-minute class. And because he saw Gaur Nitai in Atlanta, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Nityananda Prabhu, and they looked so beautiful there. And he was explaining the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, and he just broke down in tears, and just and then immediately he, you know, normally he gives like a half-hour class. He's like, "Thank you very much," and all of a sudden, he's like, "Thank you very much," and then he goes off and he like.
He was explaining
Yeah.
because it's in Atlanta. That's why he was so moved by their mercy, because they came to Atlanta. It's like one of the most, you know,
Yeah, not.
biggest kind of at the time degraded cities in the country. And so,
Yes. So that's a good point. Seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and actually, if you look now, one of the biggest cities in the U.S. where Krishna consciousness is thriving is definitely Atlanta. We got to live in Atlanta for a little bit. It's definitely thriving from different organizations in many different places. I mean, I know Amarendra Prabhu, I believe, is there on one level. There's the Krishna Life Brahmacharis doing the #1 book distribution operation there. There's the ISKCON Atlanta, which is still thriving.
Pastor Craig.
Yeah, and then there's the nice devotee Shastra Krit, and what is it, Yummies, you know,
Yeah.
but they have a little Krishna conscious center over there, and they're making devotees. So yeah, Atlanta is actually quite thriving, but just this, yeah, what seems to be a rough city, Atlanta, you know, was a rough city, especially in the 70s, and to see how Krishna consciousness was thriving so much there, you know, we wonder why, you know, what brought Srila Prabhupada to such tears, but that was one very notable moment for a lot of devotees who experienced that. Yeah, I think he also said something about he glorified the Atlanta devotees, like in that speech. He said something about this is like the best something. Do you know?
No, I'm not in Atlanta. I actually visited a temple in DC, Washington DC. There is a river called Potomac River.
Yes.
So when I went to that temple, I usually went there twice. I had went there a year and a half before. So at that time they had started building a temple, and it was an old temple. So it was a small temple. But now when I went in June, I went, and they have built a big temple now. And the temple president actually, I met him. We talked for some time, and then he was telling me that Srila Prabhupada came here in 1970s at that center, at that place, and when Srila Prabhupada saw that place, actually in 1970s it was a very dense forest. They had a river and it was a very dense forest. Nothing was there at that point. And Prabhupada, when he saw that place, he said that you built a temple here, and this area would boom in future. So don't move from here. Take this place and stay here for some years. And now, if you go to that area, it's an area where all the multi-billionaires stay. You know, everyone has their mansion there. So it's a place. It's a very posh place. Very posh place. You can't. I mean, the houses there are in $1 million minimum.
And
So
then-
every rich guy has a place in Potomac River area.
Hare Krishna, come on in. So yeah, this is our friends. You came back. Very nice to see you. So this is some of the glories of Srila Prabhupada. This transcendental vision. This happened in Juhu too,
Joe, yeah.
in the coconut forest over there.
Juhu
He
was-
knew that this was going to be a very big. In Juhu's in Mumbai. If you don't know, you probably all know this.
Jew was nothing. I mean, when Srila Prabhupada came there, the Jew was like literally nothing.
Yeah.
You had all the fishermen living there, because Mumbai was nothing in 1970s. I mean, it was booming, but Jew as specific was nothing. So when Prabhupada came there, he had a temple. After that, the Jew actually now, after 1970s, 80s, it started booming because a lot of superstars started getting their houses in Jew. So if you go now, all the Bollywood stars have their houses around in that area.
Yeah, I mean, his vision was incredible. I mean, there would be times where people, even in regard to the Jew, he had to do business deals with people. And he would go in, and the person had the intention to do something else, but he would just go in and he would talk to them for like maybe 15 minutes. And that person would completely change their whole thing and then just be like, okay, I'll do whatever you'd want. Like he had like some type of, you could say almost mystic ability in dealing with people. And even telling them, there's one moment I was thinking of where, you know, even telling people things they definitely don't want to hear, but he was able to do it in such a charming way. You know, I'll save. I had one story, but I think I'll save
I
it.
think I'm thinking of the
Yeah, you're probably thinking of the same
Sure,
one.
I'll have to reset it.
Yeah. So.
There's that story of Prabhupada when this man called him in. I don't remember the whole name either. And he had a Radha and Krishna deity, but there was like a chip or something. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And so you
That I was thinking of that one when he, yeah, there was deities that they're beautiful. They're Radha Ras Bihari deities at Juhu.
Yeah.
Now, if you go and visit those deities in Juhu, the Radha Ras Bihari deities, how they got there, they were, I think there was some, was it in London? I don't know where. There was some Indian couple who wanted to, it might have been the Radha London Ishwar deities.
That was Radha London.
Yeah, it was.
Those are Radha Rani.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Radha London Ishwar,
Because
now
it was
that I think
shipped
of it.
from
Yes.
India, I remember.
Okay, so yeah, it was the Radha London Ishwar deities, and maybe I'm not fully versed in the story, but basically they, I think they wanted him to like buy them or something like that, but Prabhupada wanted them to get donated,
So
to.
they invited him to their home.
So they invited him to the home and all the things to check out the deities and things like that. And Srila Prabhupada went in and he had his disciples come in. And basically what ended up happening is like through the dealing, somehow or other, his disciples just walked out the door with the deities and Srila Prabhupada was like, yes.
No, they didn't want to show him the deities because they were nervous, right? And then Prabhupada and
Well, you know better.
they
What do
went
you
in
say?
and they looked, and Prabhupada immediately was like, I need them. And he looked at the devotees and they said, you take them. And then he kept talking to the man and he was like, thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Like he was just
They
kind
were
of
actually-
like schmoozed his total way,
They were actually, they showed him, but Prabhupada was not talking about the deities. He was
Yeah.
like, he was talking on some other topic. He used to change the topic.
Yeah.
So just to show that I'm not very interested, but if you give me, I can take it.
Yeah.
So in that sense, so he was kind of negotiating, and then he told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, pick Radharani. Is she heavy enough? Can you pick her up? So he picked that, and I think Satswarup Maharaj was there. He said, pick Krishna. So they kind of picked them, and he was like, are they heavy? And they said they were like talking in sign language. They were like, yeah, we can pick them up. And he said, pick it up, and they
And they
took it up. They directly left, and he was expecting some kind of money in the exchange.
Yeah, so this is kind of the.
Talking, it was very good. Actually, there is one more incident I recently heard of negotiations. If you talk about negotiations, it was, I guess, Hayagriva Prabhu. So Hayagriva Prabhu had just got married and he had a child. And there was devotees were telling him that Prabhupada is going to come and he is going to tell you to be a temple president. So he had already made all the thoughts in his mind that I won't be temple president because it's a big responsibility. I have a family now, and he had all the reasons. He chalked them up, and when Prabhupada came, they sat for a meeting. Prabhupada said, Hayagriva, I want you to take sannyas. And Hayagriva Prabhu was like, he literally started freaking out. He said, how can I take sannyas? I just got married. He said, don't worry, we'll take care of your wife. And he said, no, Prabhupada, I have a son. He is 2 years old. How can I leave him? He said, no, don't worry, we have a Gurukul, we will take care of him. So Prabhupada started answering him. And at the end, he was very much freaking out because Prabhupada was smashing each of his arguments. And he said, Prabhupada, whatever you say anything apart from taking sannyas. Prabhupada said, okay, become temple president.
Prabhupada said what?
Become temple president. So the original thing you wanted. So Prabhupada has had a transcendental brilliance that, if you just study the life of Srila Prabhupada, if you read his books, you'll understand the type of personality that Srila Prabhupada is, and a completely transcendental personality. So that's why we are here following under the ISKCON movement. That's why we're here. We're sharing his books. We read his books. The course study that we do here, at least on the surface level, is his books. And from there, and in his books, he does recommend that we go off and we should learn the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, the Goswamis, and down the Parampara. But he personally predicted, he made a lot of predictions. Like he was a prophet, so to say. When he was around, the World Trade Center buildings were first being built. You know these buildings, the World Trade Center?
Yeah, Twin
So,
Towers.
yeah, so the Twin Towers. So the Twin Towers were being built, and then the devotees were very excited. They said, Prabhupada, these are the tallest buildings in the world. And then Prabhupada, he looked at them and he says, and one day they'll be the lowest. And who knew that came pretty soon? That wasn't, the ground zero, the lowest, So he had this type of vision where he was able to see, like Krishi was mentioning, the different temple, but he knew where it would be, he was able to see the future in many ways. He predicted that his books will actually be the law books for humanity for thousands of years to come, actually. It's a heavy claim, but he actually predicted like this. So you read them yourself and you'll see like how this could be true. So, but he did many wonderful things. So I basically what I want to do now is I just want to tell you all how I appreciate Srila Prabhupada. By finding his books, I literally I had a very degraded type of life. I had a very unhappy life, even though I was, I was a pretty fortunate American boy. I'd say very fortunate to be able to find this. But yeah, I wasn't happy. I wasn't satisfied. I was looking for satisfaction everywhere, and I couldn't find it. And I was on like a quest to just be happy. I was willing to leave school. I was willing to leave work. I was willing to leave all of the normal social paradigms to try and find happiness. But I still couldn't find it. I tried looking with the hippies, and then I started looking in all the different world religions and different meditation practices, and I just wanted to be happy. And yeah, it actually wasn't until I found Srila Prabhupada's books, Krishna Consciousness and the Devotees, the society that he started, that I actually practically experienced my life getting significantly better, more and more so. And the reason I keep doing this is because my life is getting better by practicing Krishna Consciousness. My life is getting better by following. And I didn't, like I said in the beginning, I didn't really like even Srila Prabhupada's all his rules and strictures in the beginning when I first started reading his books. I was like, no, man, that's too much. But I was really interested in what he was saying, and just like the many stories where he convinced you go into something with one intention, and by the end of it you have a completely different intention. By the end of the book, I just was like, I felt like he just did some kind of mystic psychology on me where I'm like, I really trust this guy. Like you'll read it if you read his books. It's he will just conquer you with his sincerity. That's the thing about Srila Prabhupada. He's so sincere. So I personally, I'm just so grateful for Srila Prabhupada entering my life. I pray. Actually, I was just reading how wonderful, because Srila Prabhupada is not dead, right? So he left his body. It's not like he's gone from us. Srila Prabhupada has a much greater role now in his service than he did, arguably, in the form that we see recorded and was here. But when you just even pray for the mercy of such an advanced Vaishnava, such an advanced servant of Krishna, that's why we chant Jaya Prabhupada and the Nama Om mantras, because he is looking over this movement, he's looking over us. I've personally, I've never, I never met him a day in my life, I personally had him enter my dreams a few times, in very bizarre ways. I won't reveal some of these things because I've actually been instructed not to. These things are actually more confidential. But he's very much, he's very much real to anyone who can at least log on YouTube. You can see he's definitely real. But he's very much still present and still able to connect with you. And he's really everyone's well-wisher. So that's my appreciation of Srila Prabhupada. I wanted to actually hear from you guys for at least 15 minutes or so, maybe some of your guys' appreciations of Srila Prabhupada. If anyone wants to share anything, feel free. You can hold the laptop. Who's gonna go?
Hi Krishna, hi Prabhu, hi Krishna.
Oh, back to Brandon. You're gonna do it. Let's go.
Yeah, well, no, shut it off. Yeah, just coming to the temple about a few years ago. I decided to go back in the Krishna temple and say, "Oh yeah, I'm hungry. I think I need something to eat, whatever." So I went to the temple, ate some prasadam, and I found out it was called prasadam, not just a place to go eat. and stuff like that. But and chatting with the devotees and stuff, and I really had some spiritual experiences and stuff like that. But I think I maybe had a Prabhupada dream. I'm not really too sure, but I really had some dreams about the devotees in the temple and stuff like that. So I'm very thankful to have you guys in my life, and I just wanted to share that I think Prabhupada is a big, huge influence on all of us, not just me, but on all of the devotees. So thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Dr. Brandon, a round of applause. That was very sweet. Thank you, Dr. Brandon. I heard some nice things from you that Prabhupada, due to his mercy, you got the literal mercy of prasadam, which means mercy, which the food remnants in which we offer to the Lord. Actually, not just the food remnants, anything that we offer to the Lord and that the Lord touches or takes in, that which is offered to him becomes prasadam, like the flowers we were handing out yesterday, the different articles. So you got to experience that mercy from Srila Prabhupada setting up centers where they're offering everything to Krishna. And the taste of prasadam is transcendental. There's a chapter in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya glorifies prasadam. And he said what makes prasadam so glorious is that actually Krishna's saliva is still on the prasadam. And anything still associated with Krishna, but because Krishna has tasted it and the remnants of his saliva are on the prasadam, that's what gives it this ultra amazing taste. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would say, I've tasted all of these ingredients and these combinations before, but because Lord Jagannath tasted them, they taste that much sweeter and more amazing. So everyone, that's how they conquered me too when I started coming to the temple. That's how we get everybody to eat, take the prasadam, because the prasadam is it's such an enlivening experience for so many that they begin to feel the spiritual sentiments that are infused inside the prasadam. And then I heard you when you go to a temple, you get sadhu sangha, you get the association of devotees, and this is all Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So this is very nice, Bhakta Brandon. Thank you for leading us off. And I'm going to humbly request, Michael, would you like to share something about your gratitude to Srila Prabhupada? Maybe you could tell the screen.
Well,
and everyone here, mainly for everyone here.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. I wouldn't be doing any of these wonderful activities.
I might be born.
Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't be taking such a wonderful process and knowing of the Absolute, all of these wonderful things. I mean, he's the savior of the entire world. But I was thinking to an experience actually. I was pretty young at the time. I don't remember the exact age, but at a young age, my father was explaining to me about Krishna consciousness and little about Srila Prabhupada's teachings and just about the whole movement, and then about the concept of death and stuff. But that concept at the time was very, very hard on me. There was many times where we were talking about, the death of him, like my father dying, and all these different topics that I remember him subtly remember talking about. But anyways, I remember one day that my dad was showing me a picture of Srila Prabhupada and talking about him and glorifying him. And when he told me that he passed away from this world, I cried. And I had no experience. I had no idea. I knew nothing of Srila Prabhupada, actually. I was so young, but and I don't think I've ever cried about, at the time at least, ever cried about hearing about someone dying. Ever. But I remember him telling me that, and I just was bawling my eyes out.
That's so sweet.
Just to know that he wasn't here anymore. So I don't know. I just remember that happening.
That's
But
nice.
But everything, I mean, everything in my life, I'm trying to completely immerse myself in this process, and everything my life is molded around is because of him. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't even be here right now. I wouldn't have such nice devotees around me. I wouldn't have this sangha. I wouldn't even know about Krishna, even a little bit. I wouldn't, I would be completely lost and fallen. Like, I mean, I still am, but in the sense of not knowing, just being completely immersed constantly in material activities like I was lifetimes after lifetimes. But until, I mean, and only recently I took back to this process. I got lost in so many material activities, doing all sorts of horrible, wretched things. And but because of Srila Prabhupada, I can try to rise above all of these terrible things that are happening in Kali Yuga and just try to devote myself to him and Krishna ultimately, and Radha and Krishna. But all glories to Srila Prabhupada, the savior of the entire world.
Call him Jagat Guru.
Jagat Guru.
And he can even say savior of the universe, potentially. Parth, you want to share anything? You've had some experience. Parth actually had more experience with the devotees. He had experience with the devotees before I even had experience with them. Value them.
You might have to give him the mic because he's soft.
No.
So I met. I won't say I met, but I've seen the picture of Srila Prabhupada when I was the age of 10. I went to one of the ISKCON. I don't know that time and all, but I remember I was looking at his books, and I even bought a book. Thought of I will be reading that. Never read that. I bought The Laws of Nature, where a man body with animal face and animal body and the man face and the man with the axe and all. I just thought of buying all the books at the time. I was so small, but I particularly got attracted to that book. But I don't say I have inclination, but for some reason I was more favored or kind of. It was quite easy to me to accepting this whole thing. But the main mercy of Srila Prabhupada came to me in the form of my educational institution in 2012. Right after my 10th class, I could able to join a group of devotees who were teaching 11th and 12th along with the principles of Bhagavad Gita and all. And that time, the reason that I'm saying was at that time I was more passionate to work hard, study more to crack IIT JEE, all these things. But and all the teachers in that educational institutes are from IIT JEE, and they're teaching 11th and 12th, and they introduced me with Bhagavad Gita and who is Srila Prabhupada, and whatever the basic knowledge that I have, it's from them. And then of course once I finished 11th and 12th, I went to undergrad and I lost everything. And after 10 years, I found in Syracuse Ram Prabhu and Sita Mataji. So I was praying in between, like maybe just help me. I was praying to Prabhupada, just help me just make me come back again to. Although I was indulged in all the drinking, etc., and I wasn't happy very much in those 10 years. So although I wasn't practicing in between, but I used to pray sometimes, like I'm not very much happy with this, so Prabhupada, please help me and all. But it was so amazing that right now I'm staying in it, like whenever I think that I'm staying in a temple taking prasadam every day, and right in the courtyard of Krishna and his devotees, it sometimes makes me feel ecstatic, and also sometimes make me nervous. I might make commit some offenses, or I might not able to take. Once I go from this place, I don't know how I can survive or sustain and all. But yeah, Prabhupada's mercy has come in many forms, and most amazingly, like recently when I went to India, I visited my uncle's place. It's in a village, and as soon as I visited, my uncle started talking about like he's not happy. He's quite an aged man, and he said that he's feeling all anxious and all, etc., etc., all the problems that comes with age and all. And then my parents were trying to give some suggestions. Maybe you should do that. Maybe you should try this. Maybe you should try this. I was sitting quietly and I was searching where is the ISKCON nearest, and it is 1 minute away by walk. And I was amazed like how a rural part of India, it's mercy of Prabhupada is at each and every corner. We just need to find it out and take it. But yeah, I don't know how to express, but Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
For the record, I don't think Fred's ever offended anyone.
Yes.
Ever.
Very difficult for Parth to offend me. I mean, Parth could rob me, cheat me, slap me, and I still, if he smiles, I don't think I could be like offended by him. Adi, do you want to share anything? You want this or no?
I have two things. First is I want
You
to
take the laptop.
I want to share, like we were talking about how Prabhupada was able to convince others, but I wanted to share a story about how he was convinced by Shivji himself in one of the stories. But so what happened was, like, for the longest time, the current at ISKCON Bhubaneswar, there is the capital of Odisha. There was no ISKCON centers in Odisha for a long time, and the guru, current temple, like president guru there, and he was trying for the longest time to have Prabhupada come in and open an ISKCON center in Bhubaneswar, but it never happened. And Prabhupada was always a little reluctant to come, and he was always like, I will not go to Odisha and open a temple there, because the reason was Jagannath Puri is in Odisha, and he did not like the fact that the Pandas would always not let the Western devotees come in. And there's also reasons for that, but he just did not like that, so he was always a little hesitant to, like, I know I'll never open a center in Odisha. So what happened was, Bhubaneswar literally means Bhuvan. It comes from the word Bhuvan Ishwar, like it's literally the abode of Shivji. Like it's the city of temples in India, and there is a very big Shivji temple, Lingaraj temple, and so it's said that because it's said that whenever you want to visit a holy place, Krishna's holy place, you have to go through Shivji's, like he tests you. You have to go. So it's always said that since Puri, like you have to go to Puri, you have to go through Bhubaneswar. So so for the longest time, this disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who is currently like running ISKCON Bhubaneswar, so he,
What's his name?
I forget. I'll have to look it up. But so he was continuously praying and asking Prabhupada to come, but he would not come. So one day, Shivji himself, he went, and he said, even though Western devotees are not allowed in Jagannath Puri itself, but please come and open a center here, so that even if the devotees come to Odisha, they can still do darshan of Krishna. They can still do, they can still feel Krishna's presence in Odisha. So that's when, after that, Srila Prabhupada agreed, and then he came and he started the ISKCON Bhubaneswar center.
That's where Gaur Govinda is.
Yes. Yes.
So that's who you're thinking
Yes.
of.
Yes.
Like
Yes,
lived in
Gaur
outside
Govinda.
there.
Yes.
One of the most empowered of Srila
Yes.
Prabhupada's disciples. He led his main thing in the temple, so that's very nice. Anything personal for you, how Srila Prabhupada has impacted you?
Personally, so the way I got into Krishna Bhakti was through my dance. So growing up, like ever since like I was 3, I would I was trained in Odissi, and Odissi being a temple dance, it literally started as it literally started in Jagannath Puri temple, and it was a way to glorify God. It was a way to spread His message. So I would always, like when I was young, I would indirectly worship Krishna. I would not know. We will do all these mudras. We will do his pastimes. We would do Jayadev's Geet Govind, the pastimes, and we would depict that through dance. And I at that time did not know the meaning of those, like the pastimes and the things that we would do. But like growing up, like indirectly, I was worshiping Krishna, and then Srila Prabhupada's presence in my life, I would say, was through his books. And like I knew about ISKCON, I knew I would come to programs, but I didn't have like a consistent like spiritual practice. And that happened only after like I came into this practice. And the first, like it was the same, like the Laws of Nature book with the exact same cover that you mentioned. I read the same book, and then the other book was Higher Taste. And being from Odisha, seafood was a huge part of our culture. But after reading Higher Taste, like I just switched and just gave up meat and non-veg food altogether, like just from that one book. And I feel like that's the power of his words, and the impact that they can bring. And also, like I feel reading Bhagavad Gita, like his purport, I feel like you can read a sentence again and again, and you will realize, what at least what I realize is that every single word is there, and it's there for a reason. Like all his purport is, there's no more, not one word more or less. It's there, and it's just so like concise, and it's there for a reason. So but yeah, like his mercy specifically, I've been feeling like recently for the past year, over a year now, like after I got into this practice, and with his books mainly.
Jai, all guys. Srila Prabhupada's
Goes
book.
to Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Adya. Anyone else who want to share something?
It's good, nice to have a girl to
Yeah, everyone. Hello, you must be Parveen.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Parveen. If you have any questions, you can ask my wife, okay?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. These are good guys. Anyone else want to say something nice about Srila Prabhupada? Even just something that he struck you in some type of way, has impacted you positively? Tanmay, anything? You did a couple of retreats, and you were coming here to learn life, and anything that positively happened to you.
I could just say one of the best moments of my life was the Gita Nagari retreat, where I meditated with the peacock. As you know that, like it was this peacock face to face, 4:30 a.m. and I'm just chanting. I have my beads, and it was just sitting. And that time, that was the time when I felt like it's it's some sort of a presence. I don't know what it is, but like that's definitely not an experience. Nobody like meditates within peacock for an hour, so like that was cool. Yeah,
That's very nice.
I'm grateful that.
Due to Srila Prabhupada, that peacock, that farm, none of that would be there. Actually, Gitanagari is said to be the place Prabhupada instituted. Actually, it was the last place Prabhupada was trying to go when he was leaving this world. And he wanted to show the people how to set up a self-sustainable model, how the devotees can fend from themselves, and they don't have to rely on outside non-devotional world to. So actually Gitanagari was supposed to do. Gitanagari, they wanted to change because Gita Nagari means a place where the Gita is spoken. But you know, it's a beautiful forest, it's beautiful, there's all kinds of wonderful things. So they wanted to name it, the devotees there wanted to rename it something to do with like Krishna's forest pastimes, or New Vrindavan, New Gokul, or New Talavan, New Mahaban, something like that. But Prabhupada was very adamant. He said, no, this has to be Gita Nagari. This will be the place where people come and hear the Gita. And actually, interestingly enough, we're part of the retreats now at Gita Nagari. Now we're seeing where people are coming and they're learning about Bhagavad Gita and they're hearing a lot of these basic fundamental principles, and we're seeing very practically how this is, if we want someone to just be introduced in a very positive way, we just say, hey, come to the Gita Nagari retreat. So if you guys want, anyone wants to come with us to the Gita Nagari retreat, that's a really wonderful experience. A lot of people really appreciate the experience.
They already put the date out.
Yeah, it's next April 4th to the 7th is the next one. So we're kind of part of the organizing group. I don't know how it happened. We just got asked to come, and next thing you know, we somehow fell into it. It's like we tripped and fell, and somehow we're organizers now. Prabhupada's mercy, that never would have happened. Actually, I wouldn't have a whole lifestyle and existence without Srila Prabhupada. I don't even know what I would do in life. I didn't want to do like the 9 to 5. I know a lot of you guys are doing that, but like I just like made it a commitment. It was a challenge between me and my mom. My mom really wanted me to do it, and I was like, I'm not doing this. And due to Srila Prabhupada, I found something where I can do that thing that I always wanted to do, which was something different. And so my whole life and lifestyle is solely due to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So that's an appreciation. You wanted to say something, Sita?
Yeah, I should say something.
Yeah. So I do maybe hand you the last. Yeah, you have to speak. Dr. Brandon.
It's like so close. Hare Krishna, Bhakti Brandon.
All 5 YouTube listeners are also.
Jai. Yeah, well, first I was relating with Parth's story a little bit because before I met the devotees, I mean, so many things were going on, but I remember I was at a time in my life where I graduated college and I was kind of miserable. I just backpacked around Europe and I was looking like for something deeper. I didn't find it in the 13 countries that I went to, and everyone was kind of doing the same thing, partying, hooking up, drinking. There's some nude festival people I met. There's really interesting things going on, but like none of it, was what I was looking for. And I came back and I had given up drinking and smoking. I smoked weed in college a little bit, and yeah. And you're one to talk. Come on. That was just like a in-between thing. But anyway, because I got into hippie stuff, and they were like, oh, it's healthier than drinking. So I stopped drinking, and then I started smoking a little weed, And I was a college athlete, and so that was like my life for a really long time, was like athletics and things. And anyway, I realized like none of it was making me happy, so I was searching. And then I kind of gave everything up, and I got into yoga and meditation. But I remember I would just walk around this park in Queens at like 11 o'clock at night alone. I was like a 22-year-old girl, and I mean, I was protected because it was so stupid. But I just was like, I just needed like something, and I didn't know how to find it, I didn't know what was out there. I didn't know, and I was just sad and suffering, and seeing the world was suffering, seeing the animals were suffering. I was vegan at that point. I was seeing there was just so much like sadness in the world, and people were just kind of covering it over with parties and even jobs, just like even like family life, just everything was kind of covering it. And I was just wondering like what's out there, and so I felt really lonely and everything. And then I found the devotees, specifically my husband first. And I read the Gita in college, so I had an idea, but it was also the same version he read. But then, I found the devotees and I started reading and chanting, and my life, I mean, I only did that 5 years ago. It's like totally transformed life in every degree, because Srila Prabhupada's process is so potent that if you take to it, and not saying that I'm sincere at all, because I'm often, more times than not, insincere, but even if you show a bit of interest and try and follow, there's like the wildest changes, things that I could never imagine. I was never a spiritual or religious person, so like people see me now and they're like, what? and it's a strange thing, but it's all by Prabhupada's mercy. It's like oozing out of the books and the chanting, and it's like it's there. He's there, and so I'm really grateful to him because, yeah, I would still be just wandering around lost and sad, trying to figure things out on my own, and following so many people that just have like no idea, but are acting like they know and acting like they're happy, but you just see through it. And then, besides that, when I was reading Lilamrita, you hear a lot about Srila Prabhupada's life once he comes to the U.S., but you don't hear that much. I mean, you hear basic things about before, but there was an interim in his life where he left Grahastha life, and before he came to the U.S., I think it was like 15 or 20 years or something, right, from like 50 to 70. Or was it 60 to 70? Does anyone know?
72.
But how many years, like, was he like? Yeah, something like that. But so, oh my gosh, he was just trying to serve his Guru Maharaj, and he like voluntarily became homeless. He voluntarily became poor just because his main focus was he was writing the Back to Godhead magazines. That was his like first offering, not first offering, but like first way of fulfilling his Guru Maharaj's desire to preach in English. And so what he would do was he left and he had nothing. He left all his money, everything to his kids and wife, and just said, I don't even think he really kind of told them, but he left after so many things were bad. And he had nothing, and he was just trying to spread Krishna consciousness through English. And I remember there's a story in Lilamrita where at one point in that, he had like one dhoti, it was ripped, and he would ride a like broken bike because he was going to print Back to Godheads that he couldn't afford. But the printer guy he's Srila Prabhupada, so he's very charming and he's sweet, whether doesn't have money or not, and so he kept printing for him. But that's what he would do all day. He would wake up, he wouldn't eat anything, he was so skinny, he was in rags, he was on this like bike that you would see like a homeless person riding, because it was bumpy and it was broken, and he would go to the printer, he would get things printed, and then he would go person to person on the street trying to distribute the Back to Godheads. And that's what he did every day. And then he would go back home, and whatever money he earned, he would use to print more magazines. He was so one-pointed, He was so determined and one-pointed, and he was willing to do anything and be in any condition to fulfill the desire of his spiritual master. And I don't know if, I didn't realize the extent of how much he struggled. And it's explained that it's actually not a struggle for him because he's a pure devotee and he was engaged in Krishna service. So, but as I'm seeing it externally, I can't imagine being in that kind of situation. So anyway, it's just really, really touching that such a personality would come and help us, because he had so much. He could have just stayed in India. He could have stayed in his Grahastha life. He could have been comfortable. But he took on so many years of trials and tribulations. So many years. It wasn't like a year. It wasn't like a month of being a little stressed and not having food and not having clothes. It was years and years. And then he came to us, and Krishna reciprocated with his sincerity and devotion. So, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Can you pass this back, Pandya?
Could you pass this? That's fine. Why not? Well, I
Does
think.
everyone mind? We're going to go a little bit over 8:30. No problem. No one's in a rush.
Well, I think one of the things that attracted me to Srila Prabhupada actually I was introduced to this movement by one of my friends, and I was actually fighting with him arguing with him in a sense that because I was a very heavy non-veg eater, and we got into a conversation one day, and he was kind of telling me that this is not the right way, we shouldn't eat all the meat eating habits. I was actually, and he was quoting Srila Prabhupada's purports, and all the translations that he had. And I was like, I couldn't defeat his arguments, because his arguments were, of course, by Prabhupada. And then that's the point where Krishna consciousness started for me. And I was actually very heavy. I was literally eating non-veg for 4 days a week at least. And when I heard his instructions, I left it like this. I didn't. I told my mom one day that I'm leaving it, and she thought I was joking, And then I didn't eat it for 3 weeks straight, and then she understood there was some gravity to it. But just by the instructions, you get that kind of power, because you see that it's a pure devotee speaking. And that's how my Krishna consciousness started. But after few years into Krishna consciousness, I understood. I liked one thing about Prabhupada a lot, that he broke all the stereotypes. Whatever stereotypes that were held by spiritual leaders in India. Many of them were like, no one should go to the West, or preaching for Western people, or there were many stereotypes, or even accepting service from Western people who are generally not considered very clean, or maybe they don't have their sanskaras done, or all those things. So they were basically there were a lot of spiritual leaders who didn't go to the West because of those reasons, because of a lot of stereotypes. And Prabhupada actually broke them all, saying one thing very boldly, that if you are serving Krishna, then all these rules are not important. One of the stereotypes that he broke was he actually initiated women disciples. That was one of the things that no one did in India basically, but he did that. And that is the power of a acharya, that he can turn the rules just to satisfy Krishna. He can turn the rules which are given in a lot of scriptures, but if the essence is lost, then we have no use of it. So that is one of the things. I don't remember any specific thing that I could tell you, but it has affected my life very positively. After coming to Krishna consciousness, I have slowly slowly I am becoming a better person. Not fast, but and his mercy has been always been there. I remember I was in India. I was doing very well in my exams and everything. I cracked CAT, which is one of the toughest exam in India, to get into top management schools. Actually, I did get into top management schools in India, but I don't know why I came to Syracuse. I mean, this was a very last moment thing. Coming to US was never in my back of my mind. I was pretty clear that I am staying in India. I am working for big companies. And and to become a CEO or something, you needed an MBA, and if you do it MBA from a top college, that was the way. But it happened to me that I came to Syracuse, and I met you guys, and I got a lot of seva opportunities through it. And now when I see back, I see how Krishna planned it actually, because if I had gone to those top MBA colleges, I would have done all the sinful activities that happened there on the campus. I would have not, because they literally, the thing that fascinated me was they literally have classes and everything for 18 hours a day, and I was fascinated. I'm gonna work 18 hours a day, and I used to like that kind of thing. But coming to US, it gave me, the master's program was not that heavy, and it gave me time to explore Krishna consciousness more deeply. And that is the reason why I got to do a lot of things, and getting a lot of seva opportunities. I'm getting a lot of opportunities in Mantra Central that helps me grow spiritually. So that was Krishna's plan actually. Krishna was like, okay, masters is okay, but if you're not getting to do service, then what's the importance of masters? And that's something. And I really appreciate when whenever Ram Prabhu says anything, he instructs me a lot, and he actually breaks all my insecurities, doubts, and everything. He is doing everything, and he is kind of a representative for me of Srila Prabhupada in my life currently. He is like someone who, whenever he speaks something, it feels like a spiritual teacher is speaking from taking those points from Srila Prabhupada's books. So whenever I have doubt, I talk with Ram Prabhu. So whenever I have some deep philosophical issues, and what Prabhupada said about it, So I always asked Ram Prabhu, and whatever he says, I accepted. I was like, okay, that's what is the conclusion. So yeah.
That's not a very good strategy.
Rishi, I should take your
Yeah.
So, thank you, Rishi.
Yeah.
Piyush, you've been staying here too. You want to just share something?
Of staying here or
Yeah, I mean, you've been staying here. You've been immersed in Srila Prabhupada's
wisdom, right?
ashram and wisdom and
Yeah.
for
You went through
some
some of his
time.
books?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
read the Shopanishad
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Bhagavad Gita. I'm sure you have something.
So we worship Krishna in India, but in different ways and forms. So it is not particular just worshipping him as absolute, but one form of deity particularly per se. But for the first time I heard someone mentioning Krishna was from Steve Jobs in his Stanford speech. So he was giving an commencement speech, I guess,
Yes.
of 2005 graduate,
Yes.
in which he was talking about Atlanta, maybe, if I'm not wrong.
Mm.
So this was his hippies time, and he was not living with his true parents. He was having a hard time. He didn't have any money, so he cannot manage a meal. So he was learning some creative writing or some kind of
Calligraphy.
yes. So he mentioned that for my food I went to the Hare Krishna temple for that. I said, interesting. So we are talking 1970s, 1975 on that time. So it was pretty interesting. That's the first time I heard about him mentioning something that's beyond the Krishna mentioning. I said, this person knows that thing? How is it possible? So pretty interesting. And there was this instance in which my maternal uncle, oh, you don't know ISKCON? What is, because there was this movie called, I don't remember the name of the movie, but we were waiting for that movie. He said, we have 2 hours, what should we do? So he took me to a temple, and sitting there, it's a pretty different temple than because in India, when you go to temple, you just generally see people going there to just worship the deity. But there were monks there. So I've never been to a temple in my city who has already monks living there. So they're pretty different. They're like proper sannyasis and sadhus. The energy was different. Like, what is this? He said, it's a ISKCON temple. I said, interesting. What's ISKCON? He said, oh, you don't know ISKCON? You're pretty unaware of the world now. Then he explained what ISKCON is. Then too also I was not very much aware of Prabhupada. I became aware of Prabhupada, like especially coming to by getting to his books like Bhagavad Gita, because I only his name was written A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Bhagavad Gita, the one that I had in my house. And as Rishi mentioned, coming to US was always a fluke for me. I never know. I still don't know why I'm here. So it is not something, because I had a very comfortable life in India. I didn't need anything much more than life, but something brought me here, and I still don't know the reason why, but I'm convinced that it's a God's plan, and He will figure out what He wants best for me, because the things I wanted never pan out the way I wanted. So I always surrender to this logic that something not in my control. But the only thing about Prabhupada is whenever I sit and chant in that room, he is sitting there in that throne of like a chair, and he's smiling, and he has this little smile and his eyes are glaring. So one of the things I know about people who have realized God, or who are so-called enlightened, or who have this tendency to propagate wisdom, is that you can instill wisdom with words, I believe, but the real wisdom comes from how they carry out themselves in the world, because true knowledge is not said, is understood by how the guru behaves, how the guru lives his life, because that's the goal at the end of the day, because that's the level you want to achieve if you truly want to achieve something, if you're following the guru, because that's the when you realize you surpass someone, because words will come and go like thoughts, but what imprints is his character, his behavior, his way of living. So whenever I see him sitting there, the first thing that comes out is fearlessness. And what fearlessness is, in my terms, is who is unbounded by his memories and who is not scared of future. That's what fearlessness is. And that can only be in a person who is enlightened and who has seen the truth, who has realized the truth, not seen it. So that's the quality of a person that he, just by picture, depicts, and it's a very big thing when you look at a person doing that. So, and whatever Krishna has given him or not, he truly have given him fearlessness. So that's the quality, just with the picture, not by his words. People have said words, but just by him sitting there in that calm posture and radiating like a lion, or more than that, is what makes me more
Do you know
attracted
his
towards
birth
him.
name?
Sorry?
Do you know his birth name?
No.
Abhay.
Yes, see? So it always connects.
Abhay
And
means what? Tell the
fearless. Abhay is fearless, and that's what I'm saying, that that's the quality he emanates when he's sitting like that, and when he's talking also, and when he gazes at you in some of the videos what you have seen. So in short, yeah, that's the learning I have, and me being here is something which is cannot be defined, and I cannot thank enough Lord and the moment, because it is something that makes me at center, because I am very flaky. Not flaky. Flaky is the wrong word. I don't. I is very swing a lot in terms of my spirituality. So it keeps my center in check mostly, and that's really important in your days when you are really trying to even not devote, even if you are trying to understand devotion in a way. Discipline is very much required. So at least I'm learning, taking the baby steps in that. So I'm grateful for that mostly, and all about that. So yeah, I will give it a shot now. Yeah.
Alright, we're 10 minutes over. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say? I mean, we have I think Hema, and then please remind me of your names again. I couldn't hear. Tanu. Nice to meet you, Tanu, and Devanshu and Tanu. And Hema, I know you guys maybe are more new to this process, but would you like to share? Is there anything that you would like to share, and how Srila Prabhupada or ISKCON or the devotees have impacted you?
My first visit to ISKCON was with my grandparents on a scooter. So in India, Bangalore. So we live in Bangalore, and then it was my grandparents who used to literally take me every Sunday to this place. Or even in Salem. So my grandparents, my grandfather took a voluntary retirement because he wanted to stay with his mother, as she was getting old. So they moved back, and even there, it was them more than my parents taking there. That's how the habit was formed. I think maybe after coming to the US, it became more stronger in terms of what am I looking for, and me becoming very much self-aware of I don't know many things around me. We feel like we know, but we don't know many things that is happening around us. And in fact, I had the opportunity to live here for a few months last year. I think that was what I realized is the way that you try to make changes in your own life, that is so much enough for somebody who's seeing to also, make changes. So there were so many things of my life, the way I lived, the way I was having food, or, bhajans, or trying to read and trying to educate yourself. And then I go from here, and I'm living in a place where there is so much disruption happening in the house. Many things changed in few months. And I was told that, many things changed when you came. I was like, I don't know, I didn't do anything. But I think it's just the way, certain aspects that we are learning here as a Sangha. And when we go out, even those people need it more than us. And then they're also getting it. I don't know how far. I don't know if I'm able to express it with my words, but it was it's a nice experience when it's not just changing me. Even the fact that when I'm trying to be myself, it's influencing somebody else in one way or the other. So then it makes me like, wow, that's a wow factor. And many things were happening with my roommates. So I felt, knowingly or unknowingly, you try to, gain so much knowledge, and then, yeah.
So you're saying the experience you had, because Hema was our roommate for how many months? 3 months?
Yeah, 3-4 months, maybe. 6
4
months, I think.
I think longer, but she was
6
gone
months,
for
gone for
like
conferences.
1 month.
Yeah.
She did a lot of seva when being here. I remember one time.
Oh my God, she saved my life last Janmashtami.
For Janmashtami.
Twice.
We were asking, like, Hema, just help like a little bit. She's a good
For like an
good-
hour.
For like maybe like an hour or two, and I think she like
It was like
helped,
8 hours.
like 8 or 9 hours in the kitchen, like helping to make
Back to back.
This year's Janmashtami was really like chill compared to last year's. Last year's Janmashtami was so chaotic.
So-
There was so many people. I don't know
And we
what
catered
happened.
Bala's
Yeah.
John
And we
Mashtami
catered
too.
Bala's Janmashtami the
2 days before.
2 days before, so it was insane. But yeah, but if it wasn't for Hema and also Shravani, we wouldn't have been able to succeed. But yeah,
Yeah, I
Hema
miss her.
it was really nice to see her character, and she very easily took to a lot of the devotional principles that we like to live by here.
She keeps the cleanest kitchen.
Yeah, she keeps a very clean.
If you want to learn
kitchen.
about kitchen
The
cleanliness,
boys
or
could probably all learn a lot from how the girls clean the kitchen.
Like
no, Hema cleans the kitchen very
My
nice.
parent
How-
cleans the
Nicer than
kitchen.
How
My
many
parent
of you have literally seen the Facebook profile of Sita and Ram? And then, you know, it's curiosity. You know, we have lived, most of us in India, and probably our childhood, our grandparents would have taken us to, you know, temples. And I'm looking at these guys, and if you look at her pictures 5 years ago and on the horse playing polo, right? I'm like, this woman becoming this. I'm like, I'm amazed, you know, the transformation that's taken place. So that makes me so much more curious. And then I'm like, what's there in this book? You know, let me read it like that. You know, more of curiosity. But I think I'm more of, like I've told this earlier too, I'm more of a person in the doing, where it's when you do something, you do it really well, and you be rightful to when you're you know, being with your friends or what you do. I think it's more in terms of doing that we like to show, like being honest, or
Being
that's how my
true to
parents,
yourself?
yeah,
Like good deeds, you mean?
yeah, like
Or being true to yourself.
true
is
to
that
yourself.
what you mean?
I don't know what it means, but yeah, so that's more what I think my parents like have literally, you know, installed. So it's very difficult for me if you put me to chant the whole day. But this is also something that pushed me. There is Vipassana. I was also conversing with you, and then I said, I think I want to challenge myself and just do Vipassana. I want to see if I can chant. That was also an opportunity where, can I just not do knowledge and just sit and chant? I mean, am I capable of doing it? I don't know. I want to see if I can do that. Yeah, but it's a great
You want
learning
a chanting
experience.
challenge, we'll give you a chanting challenge
I'll
every
pick you up
day
at
if
5
want.
tomorrow.
Yeah, because see, the knowledgeable person in me is always questioning. When you're talking of things, sometimes I'm like, I'm scientific. I'm like, oh, when is it? Oh, he goes to different parts and he was able to force it. I'm like, yeah, if in 1970, if I was taking flight to different countries, I would know this would be more. I'm like, you know, the knowledge part of me is still questioning. So, you know, it's a conflict of, oh, I'm really believing, but also I'm like, I'm questioning, you know. That's where I am. Thank you.
Mohina, thank you so much for sharing. Samir or Indivanshu, do you want to share anything? Or you don't have to, you can.
Just one thing that was coming into my mind is, like, before coming to Syracuse, the first thing that I was doing was searching for temples near the university. So I saw on the maps, but I never was able to come here. I don't know why I didn't. So after that, when I was in UMass, because he graduated in UMass, so I was there in summer with him. There we found Bhakti Yoga. So we started in June. I'm just grateful for Srila Prabhupada coming in US and spreading, and we are able to experience all this. Because back in India, I used to go to temple every day. I have been to ISKCON. I'm a spiritual and religious person from my roots, and I wanted to follow up all those things. But I was missing all this over here. So I was just praying to God that I find something at least, because that keeps me singing. So I am just grateful for that I am able to find it.
We're very happy that you found us and we found
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Tony. Devanshu, you want to share anything?
It's just the same. Like, when I was a kid, I used to go to temples a few times, ISKCON maybe, but the maximum I connected with ISKCON was when it was my parents' 25th anniversary, and like we decided to celebrate in ISKCON. From there, I somewhat connected with ISKCON because like people are dancing on bhajans, they're like all together having fun, and that was the best party I was in.
Yeah.
Till now.
That's the same for me, because I used to be like, I have been to ISKCON for the first time when I was there, like I was in school, but people were dancing, and it was something like that it's happening naturally that I'm dancing. It's like not forcing or something, I'm naturally doing that. That's what the feeling is, that it's the best party we have been to.
Wow.
Me too.
Yeah. I hope you appreciated our Janmashtami party we had.
Oh,
Oh, we had fun.
Sometime we'll have
Like-
more room to do more dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least Hare Krishna gives us more room, and yeah, we can have many people who can do lots of dancing. So I think Srila Prabhupada he wanted to keep it very simple. We chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And he introduced a few bhajans. Most of the bhajans he introduced are in his morning program. We do them every morning. The Gaurvastikam, the Nrsimha bhajan. We could turn this now. I think they want the Nrsimha bhajan and so many things. But he did one bhajan, and we did it last night. And actually, I think like the most enthusiastic of any of the kirtans, and it was not that many people, but when we did Jaya Radha Madhava, I heard there's so much like enthusiasm. Would you like to do Jaya Radha Madhava for maybe 10 minutes, and then we can end with a little kirtan? So thank you who joined us online. We'll probably spare you this. Facebook, you can join the kirtan.
Brandon was on until just like a minute ago.
Oh, was he? So back to Brandon, thank you so much if you listen on. But